Judith Bell's funeral was packed with judges, developers, and women wearing pearls large enough to finance a small war. I sat beside Mara Voss, my college roommate and the founder of Second Landing Foundation. Mara said Judith had left our charity $1.2 million, but the funeral program named Essex County CASA as Judith's chosen memorial fund. Not us. Mara quietly folded my copy in half. Then I noticed our wreath card near the casket. From Nina Patel, founder, Second Landing. Why did it have my name? 6 months earlier, Mara had found me through our Rutgers alumni directory. I worked in municipal procurement, owned a 2-bedroom condo in Montclair, and had spent 15 years avoiding anything that required public speaking. Mara was different, polished, relentless, always selling the next room before entering it. Second Landing, she said, provided apartments for teenagers aging out of foster care. She needed an unpaid treasurer with boring credibility. Before leaving, she borrowed my dented Silver Cross pen to sign donor letters. Why did she also ask whether my condo was paid off? Second Landing's office occupied the second floor above a tax preparer on Bloomfield Avenue. Mara blamed the dust, disconnected computers, and empty filing cabinets on renovations. She showed me photographs of 3 apartments supposedly housing 8 young adults. Every picture looked convincing. Grocery lists, mismatched furniture, a yellow bicycle chained outside. Still, no residents ever appeared during my visits. Mara said privacy laws prevented introductions. When I asked for case files, she touched my arm, smiled, and called me the conscience of the operation. What was she trying to keep unconscious? At our fundraiser, Judith Bell arrived carrying a walnut cane and a check for $25,000. She was 82, sharp-eyed, and unimpressed by Mara's performance. While Mara worked the room, Judith asked me where the Hawthorne apartment was located. I said 44 Van Winkle Street, exactly as our brochure stated. Judith's mouth tightened. She owned property nearby and said that address was a condemned machine shop. Mara appeared before I could respond and steered Judith toward the photographer. Why would a housing charity advertise a building nobody could live in? 3 days later, Mara brought me a stack of banking resolutions. Second Landing needed a temporary credit facility, she said, because Judith's larger gift was tied up with estate attorneys. I signed 2 pages authorizing routine deposits, but refused a personal guarantee. Mara laughed as if I had misunderstood a joke. My silver pen lay beside her folder, uncapped, its nib stained green from her favorite ink. When I reached for it, she swept everything into her leather case. Why had my pen been sitting with documents I hadn't seen? After Judith's funeral, her attorney, Malcolm Reed, stopped me beneath the church awning. He had seen the wreath card. Judith had never approved Second Landing for her estate, he said. In fact, 2 weeks before she died, she revoked every pledge after discovering false property photographs in our presentation. Malcolm had sent Mara a certified letter demanding the $25,000 back. Mara, standing 20 feet away, watched us without blinking. If Judith's money had disappeared, what exactly had Second Landing been operating on? The answer arrived the following morning. Special Agent Leah Cruz showed me a $286,000 home equity loan secured against my condo. The borrower was me. The money had been wired to Second Landing, then divided among 4 consulting companies. My signature appeared 11 times in green ink. So did a notarized statement claiming I founded the charity in 2019. My fingers went numb against the table. Mara had not merely stolen my signature. She had built a paper version of me. How long before the bank took my home? I drove to every property in Second Landing's annual report. Van Winkle Street was a machine shop with a red demolition notice. The Newark address belonged to a dentist. The third was an empty lot behind a fried chicken restaurant. Then I checked the consultants. One shared Mara's apartment address. Another belonged to her cousin Elise, the notary on my loan. The yellow bicycle from our photographs appeared in all 3 housing reports, right down to a torn black handle grip. There had never been 8 residents, so who had the charity really been built to serve? Mara had forgotten that our shared drive retained deleted attachments. Inside an archived folder labeled Continuity, I found 2 files, Bell Primary and Patel Reserve. Judith was the real target. Her estate was supposed to fund 3 years of fake programs, after which Mara would dissolve Second Landing. But if Judith withdrew, Mara would activate my forged loan, name me as founder, and disappear behind consulting invoices. My pen had created every original signature. Its damaged nib left the same split downstroke. I had never been the mark. I was the backup plan. But could I prove Mara held the pen? Agent Cruz traced Mara's shell companies to a storage unit in Elizabeth. We needed Mara opening it, handling the original files, and discussing the scheme. I sent her one message. I had found Judith's missing estate amendment and would trade it for the loan documents. She replied within 4 minutes. At 11:30 that night, I entered Unit 318 wearing a wire beneath my gray sweater. Banker boxes lined the walls. My Silver Cross pen sat on top of one labeled Patel. Then the metal door rattled behind me. Had she come alone? Mara stepped inside carrying a red fuel can. The gasoline smell caught at the back of my throat. I asked why she chose me. She rolled her eyes and said Judith was the target. I was continuity. Stable job, high credit score, enough home equity to keep the operation alive. If the loan collapsed, I would become the criminal on paper. She struck a match, and my knees nearly folded. Before she could drop it, I kicked the fuel can sideways. Agents crashed through the door as fire crawled across a charity brochure. Was my name already burning with it? Mara pleaded guilty to wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, and conspiracy to commit bank fraud. Elise lost her notary commission and received 18 months. The bank released the lien on my condo only after a handwriting examiner matched the split strokes to my damaged pen, and surveillance footage showed Mara pawning Judith's bracelet. Second Landing had raised $742,600 without housing a single person. At sentencing, Mara looked past me as if I were office furniture. How many years had she practiced seeing people that way? I kept the pen, though I replaced the green-stained nib. Months later, I signed my cleared deed with black ink, locked it in a steel box, and walked past the empty office on Bloomfield Avenue without slowing down. Mara called me her backup plan. The court called me her witness.